Okay, so let's talk about independent versus dependent variables. Thank you. An independent variable is the input. It's what you put into the problem. If I worked 5 hours, I put in my 5 hours to find out how much money I get. It's what you put into the problem. The dependent variable is the output, or the answer, or the conclusion, or what you're looking for. So here's how you think of it. The dependent variable depends, that's why it's called dependent, it depends on the independent. Variable. The dependent variable depends. That's why it's called the dependent variable. The dependent variable depends on the independent variable. If you can write a sentence using the word depends, it will help you identify dependent and independent. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, right now you're going to have to write some stories. They're no more than one sentence long, but we just have to do example after example. So here's example number 1. In the winter, more electricity is used. Duh. It's cold outside, right? And when it's cold outside, we use more electricity. In the winter, more electricity is used when the temperature goes down. So let's write a depend sentence. Let's write a depend sentence. What are the two things we're measuring? Does it matter really that it's winter? No, that doesn't really matter. Vince, what are we measuring? Temperature and electricity. Does temperature depend on how much electricity you use? Or does electricity depend on the temperature? Which way does it work? If you can write a depend sentence, you can identify independent and dependent variables. Dylan, what was your sentence?
Excuse this interruption, teacher.
Electricity, the amount of electricity, right, depends on the temperature. So electricity is my dependent. And my independent is the temperature. If Mr. Long wants to save some money, which one can he control? The electricity. As much as he likes to think, he cannot control the elements, right? Independent, we can't control the temperature, but we can control the amount of electricity. Here's story number 2. The cost of shipping a package is based on its weight. The cost of shipping a package is based on its weight. What are the two things that we're comparing? Cost and weight. So, does the cost depend on the weight, or does the weight depend on the cost? Do you change the weight of a package depending on how much it's going to cost? Or do you change the cost of the package depending on how much it weighs? The cost depends on the weight. So the dependent variable is the cost, or money. The independent variable is the weight. Now, I understand, like, if I'm sending a care package, I can control the weight of it. I can take things out of it. But if I'm mailing a textbook, I cannot change the weight of the textbook. That's a set amount. It cannot be changed, but the cost can change. I can shop around to see if somebody has a better cost per weight. Okay, let's try a little bit less straightforward. A lawyer's fee is $200 an hour plus a $150 retainer fee. All right, so I'm going to see my lawyer. What are my two variables? What's driving my information with my lawyer, Anna? Time and money, correct? So does the amount of money I'm going to spend depend on how much time I use? Or does how much time I use depend on how much money I spend? Which one goes where? Which one is the one that I cannot change? Which one is the one that I have control over? Cost or money depends on time, correct? How much money I spend depends on how much time my lawyer works for me. So dependent is the fee, I guess, or the money. And my independent is time, correct? Or the number of hours. I can't control, right? I can't go into my lawyer and say, hey, you know what? Let's work on this. $200 an hour. Can I negotiate that? I mean, I could try. Because it never hurts to ask, but... Can you write an equation for this?
Probably.
If I say the function of x, what's the function of x? What's my money going to equal? How do I figure out how much money I'm spending? $200 per hour. So $200 times the number of hours. What? Plus $150. It means that I reserve their time. So I'm saying, hey, I'm going to use you. Please don't take another client. All right, let's do one more. Admission is $8, and each ride is $1.50. So let's say this is to Shawnee Days, right? Admission to Old Shawnee Days is $8, and each ride is $1.50. What are the two things that I'm talking about? Raina? Yeah, I'm talking about like how much money, right? Like how much money am I going to spend? And that's going to depend, my money is going to depend on how many rides I ride, correct? So money, again, is my dependent. On the number of rides. If I only had $8, I get to ride 0 rides. My money depends on the number of rides. How many rides can I ride? I don't know. How much money do I have, right? Money, how much money I spend depends on how many rides I ride. So dependent is money, usually is, and independent is the number of rides. Can you write an equation for this one too? The function of x equals what? Vince? Good. $1.50 times the number of rides, x, plus $8.